Thank you, Fiona, for the warm introduction. Vice Chairperson of the Rwanda Bankers Association, leaders of Rwanda's financial institutions and development partners, private sector operators, researchers, distinguished guests, good morning, muraho neza. It is a great honor and privilege for me to join you today for this annual research conference organized by the Rwanda Bankers Association. And I would also want to extend a very warm welcome to guests who have traveled from different countries in the East African community, from near and far. Welcome to Kigali. Credit market dynamics in Rwanda, technology, regulation, and competition. This is a theme which comes at the right time because we have a banking sector that has grown exponentially in the last 10 years, that has financed our economy continuously, yet credit markets are ever evolving, and it is therefore a moment for us to pause and reflect on the drivers of the credit market, the innovations, beyond just prudential ratios. And first of all, I would like to extend my deepest appreciation to the Rwanda Bankers Association, to the contributors, researchers, and participants who continue to invest in rigorous thought, research, aimed at shaping a more inclusive and resilient financial system for our country. Secondly, let me emphasize that gatherings which bring together researchers, policymakers, financial institution leaders, and innovators are essential. They create the space that we need to reflect deeply, to challenge ourselves, and to shape the direction of financial sector with both evidence and purpose. Distinguished guests and colleagues, in recent years, Rwanda has made tremendous progress in developing a robust and inclusive credit market. From the strengthening of regulatory frameworks to the rise of digital lending platforms, we are witnessing a transformation that is not only modernizing access to finance, but also reshaping the relationship between borrowers, lenders, regulators, and innovators. In an era marked by rapid technological transformation, transitions in global economic dynamics, and evolving regulatory landscape, the banking industry and the financial sector stand at a critical crossroad. Navigating this complex environment requires robust oversight and adaptive policy framework, and in this regard, the National Bank of Rwanda has made significant strides to enhance supervision, promote transparency, and ensure financial stability. These efforts are crucial. Indeed, traditional financial institutions and emerging digital lenders increasingly compete for market share in a rapidly shifting financial ecosystem. But effective regulation must strike a delicate balance between encouraging innovation, but also protecting consumers and maintaining systemic integrity. And as the credit market evolves, so too must our regulatory approaches, guided by data, foresight, and inclusive dialogue. And so today's discussions provide us with an opportunity to deeply think about how regulation can support well-functioning competition, not just for market efficiency, but broader social impact, empowering entrepreneurs, households, supporting small and medium-sized enterprises, and advancing more equitable financial outcomes for Rwandans. At the same time, regulation must remain adaptive to the pace of technological innovation, make sure that new financial solutions enhance transparency, safeguard consumer interests, and maintain stability. We also want, as central bank and financial regulator, to preserve room for innovators to continue expanding credit and credit solutions. And this need becomes especially critical as financial sector data itself continues to grow. For instance, when we look at digital payment transactions in the last 10 years, in 2014, they represented 10% of our GDP, and last year, that number had reached 300% of GDP. And that those electronic transactions generate vast amounts of real-time behavioral data from millions of individuals and companies, but these aggregate figures alone risk obscuring important distributional patterns in access and usage. And so to address this, the National Bank of Rwanda developed the Financial Inclusion Dashboard, which leverages our central data warehouse, electronic data warehouse, to provide disaggregated high-frequency data on account ownership, credit activity, and insurance participation across our population. And this more granular data not only informs more responsive supervision, but enables us as regulators, but also policymakers and researchers to better understand how credit markets in our country function, how they're evolving, and where gaps persist. And we know that Rwanda has also experienced substantial growth in credit to the private sector, increasing from 16% of GDP in 2014 to 23% of GDP in 2024. And this progress highlights the impact of regulatory measures that we've put in place to foster an enabling environment for banks, microfinance institutions, and now non-deposit taking financial institutions to extend credit while effectively managing credit risk. I would recall a few regulations. There were the regulation on credit facilities classification and provisioning for banks, the regulation on risk management for banks, and regulation establishing risk management framework for deposit-taking microfinance institutions. And while we celebrate these achievements, we must also recognize challenges that remain and uncertainties that accompany this progress. Changes in the financial sector necessitate continuous evaluation, research, and understanding of their implications to our economy. And this annual research conference is a vital input in providing evidence-based policy advice to the financial sector experts and policymakers at large. And Dr. Diane reminded us that this research that will be presented today will have practical recommendations so that they can serve the purpose, be it for the industry, but also policymakers and regulators. And I'm glad that one of our researchers in the National Bank of Rwanda is also among the presenters today. And let me conclude with a simple but powerful reminder that research is not just about knowledge, it is about impact. The insights that we will share here today have the potential to shape real-world decisions. They can inform better regulation, inspire smarter product design, and spark new collaborations between government, the private sector, regulators, and civil society. And therefore, I call on us to participate actively, ask the hard questions to the researchers, share our findings, and challenge our assumptions. The question that we need to respond to ultimately is how can we build a credit market that is more responsive to the needs of all Rwandans? And I wish you all a productive, provocative, and solution-oriented research conference. Thank you all. Murakoze cyane.